Let me
It
see if
should
it'll
be
still
easier
work.
than that.
Well, it's almost like saying that I didn't set it up on X and going, oh, I should have done that.
Okay, user error. I did meet
Yeah.
somebody else at FarCon who was building another live streaming client for Farcaster. What was it called? Like Pine Tree or something?
Oh, I haven't heard of that one. I know that the team, one of the guys from the team at Kira, he's
Hmm.
creating um, a client as well. He created a client, I should say.
Oh,
Yeah.
what's it called?
I don't even know if it has a name. He literally used it for an AMA for uh, Kira like 2, 3 weeks ago and surprised
Yeah.
us all with a link.
Huh.
So, okay. So I've gone to stream. I've set up the live stream. I already have all this RMTP stuff or RTMP stuff on Riverside. So if it picks it up, it picks it up. We'll see. In the meantime,
Mm.
GM, good to see
Yeah,
you.
you too. How
Are
was
you,
your,
I was gonna say,
when
are
did you
you
get
recovered?
home? Uh, just there's just a bunch of other things, but
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm still in New York.
Yeah.
I'm flying out today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Family
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah. My sister got engaged over the weekend.
Ooh,
It was
congratulations.
exciting.
Was it a
Thank
surprise?
you. For her, yeah, I think she said she was like mostly surprised,
Yeah.
which is all you can really ask for, I guess.
Yeah. We're super connected. Yeah, we're on stream. All right, cool.
Oh,
So,
nice.
if you want to catch up with the chat there, because it is not as easy as just going into the X link or the YouTube link, you have to
Yeah.
go to the frame that has casted from my account into the Crypto Sapiens channel. And I
Okay.
believe you need to click watch live stream and then you can chat from there. I remember, and now the creator has said that they have made a couple of updates, but I believe the chat should also come through the comments, but I don't know if they work
Mm.
both ways. So, anyways, before you came on, I was busy doing this, which is printing some of the memories
Oh,
from
nice. Oh,
Farcon.
cute. It's
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
I love
So
it.
I realized I messed up. I have this little camera that
Hmm.
does that, and I was like, oh, that could have been a nice little memento for people who stop by the On-Chain Creator House. Can't do everything.
Yeah. No, the on Creator House was great though. That
Yeah.
was probably the highlight of my FarCon.
Wow. That
Which, I mean, also
wow.
disclaimer, like I was gone all weekend, so I didn't go to a lot of events.
It's like
But
compliment. Bah. Not really.
no, 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 no. I mean, okay, all I went to, like full disclaimer, I
Yeah.
went to the On-Chain Creator House. I went
Yeah.
to briefly the refraction event
Hmm.
that night, as well as the pizza party
Pizza
that
Dow,
night.
right?
Yeah, Pizza
Yeah.
Dow. And then the next day I went to the summit, and that was it. And then
Okay.
because then we went out of town for the weekend.
Yeah.
So that's all I was able to do. But the on-chain, I mean, yeah, even if I'd gone to other things, I feel like the on-chain creator house would have been one of my favorites just because it's aligned with the stuff that I'm working on.
Yeah. I mean, I did hear that. I did hear that from a few folks. So that was really nice to hear.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good.
yeah. It took, I mean, it's a big effort. So,
Hmm.
I would say for anybody who popped in or is hearing about it and is maybe thinking, wow, he got lucky or wow, like that's nice. No, it's a big effort to host an event of
Yeah.
that nature. So,
Yeah, no, Humpty put in a ton of work. I can attest to that.
yeah. So,
And yeah.
but it's also, hey, look, it's not just me, right? Like I've been giving flowers to everybody involved from base signaling early and saying we want to be a part of this way back at East Denver. No pressure, right? uh, and then saying we're going to be announcing something at your event. We can't give you all the details. I kind of knew what was going to be
Yeah.
launched, but that was massive. Also, my New York team, you saw them around on the floor, on the ground there,
Yeah.
like, from David, who was my co-conspirator of the On-Chain Creator Summit. Like, I keep reminding people, work with this dude. Like, he is great. He made
Hmm.
my life so easy because I didn't have to deal with the logistics. I just had to deal with programming, anything that had to do with like what was happening the day of. But he managed the venue, the food, like the AV, everything. So
Yeah.
awesome dude.
I
Work
saw
with
him
him if
running
you're in New
around.
York.
I saw him running around like nonstop. He was
Yeah.
on top of it.
Yeah. So you can't do things alone. It takes a village, honestly, and we're creating a
Hmm.
village. And I think because of that, people are grateful and happy and had a good time, which is good.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it what you expected or was it different? Like just while we're on the topic of the on-chain creator house, might as well recap that more
Sure.
fully. Yeah.
It surpassed all my expectations.
Amazing.
Like I set a bar of excellence, like I normally try to in everything that I do in life, and it just blew through that. And I think
Yeah.
I was more surprised than anyone who was there at how great it turned out. Like when everybody left and it was just me and my team, I almost cried.
Wow.
Yeah. It was um yeah, it was a great event. Um Aside from that, there's a lot of learnings. So the one thing that I learned
Hmm.
is in terms of how people registered, Gian Gramajo, um,
Hey, Gramajo.
is that
Yeah.
I needed a better way to have people register to separate two events actually that were happening. The first event had a very strong creator focus. The second event was like, we're opening it up to everybody. Come on in, come and check out this venue because it's badass and we have tons of food, tons of snacks, tons of drinks. Like swing by and partake. Um, I either would have created two Lumas, but also in terms of like the creator hackers, I needed a better way to communicate with them throughout the event, like before, during, and after.
Hmm.
And Luma is not the way. Email is
Yeah.
not the way. So either I would have used an existing hackathon tool that exists like out there to basically collect RSVPs, collect submissions, keep conversations going back and forth between them and other creators and the projects that were there hosting the challenges, or, which is what I'm leaning into, build it myself. So, alpha
Vibe code
alert.
that shit.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So, a bit of
Yeah.
alpha there is there might be a SaaS product that comes out of this because I'm, again, fulfilling my own need.
Yeah. I'm curious because like I've run events in the past too. Like from your perspective, what was missing on the communication front from like Luma and email that you would what does that ideal communications app look like for you?
So, first and foremost, having everybody in one like group, like Luma, I wasn't able to like give certain information to one group and not the other. Right. So the first thing is I thought I didn't want everybody to have the address. So the people in the email were the ones getting the address. Everybody else was going to get it afterwards. That was a mess. Like that could have been done better. So just in terms of sharing information, segmenting that by group, like that needs to be done. By the way, Coinbase Wallet kind of solves this, right? They have group chats, and we can get into this later, but channels, I'm still a channel like ambassador, advocate, whatever you want to call it. I
Mhm.
want to see Coinbase groups the way that Facebook groups became kind of a thing and drove a lot of attention and retention to Facebook early on. I think that would be a really good play on Coinbase's front, and wouldn't be surprised if they're not already working on it. Um, so that's one is in terms of like segmenting conversations. The other is just in general providing tasks and having people pick up those tasks, right? There's a lot of really good project management tools that do that. I mean, even Trello, I think, would do a good job at that. But at that point, it's just like everywhere. It's like download 5 different apps. to do this one thing. So I think if I were building this tool, which I might, um, actually I am, uh, I would be. These are all the considerations that I'd be making in terms of like how to make it work for me, because this is we're running it back again. Like no joke. I do it to myself. I casted this literally going into the event. Every time I'm going to event, I'm like, oh my god, why am I doing this to myself? And I'm like literally nauseous. I couldn't eat for like a day, couldn't sleep. And then as soon as it's done, I was like, let's do it again. I can't wait to do it again. So
Right?
on me,
Yeah.
totally on me. Anyways,
Yeah.
I think I answered your question, but yeah, just
Yeah.
and also just like being able to give people alerts, like very timely alerts, like, hey, this is happening. Turn in your submissions. Not everybody was getting my
Yeah.
emails. I think even some were going to spam at some point. So
It's tough in like a crypto industry too, where a lot of people just don't really use email. Like I would say typically email is a pretty safe bet
mhm.
to get the word out and to communicate information. But I think crypto is just like so segmented with the communications. Like pretty much everyone's on Telegram, but then you have to go through the extra step of like getting people's Telegram handles in order to put them in a group chat, which, you know, like that's also a bad process.
Yeah,
The Luma notifications I think are good. The only problem is that like whenever I get a Luma notification to my phone, it's like Humpty has sent an update. Click
yeah,
this link to view.
yeah,
You know, like instead of just having it in the body of the message, like why isn't it just there? I'm already if I'm already RSVP'd to the event, why wouldn't it just copy and paste your message into the body of the text? Like that would make it
yeah,
so much easier for me getting a text, I can just read it. Whereas like I don't know if I like don't have Luma logged in on my phone or something, but like half the time when I go to click the link, it's like sign in, and then I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like walking around like trying to catch the train, and I'm like, I don't have time for this right now, and then I forget about it, and then I never read the message.
Well, I hope Matthew, the creator of Eventcaster, is listening, because he, I know, with events, was planning on continuing to build it out until he got a full time job, and understandable, he's busy. Stopped kind of developing it, but this was kind of the idea. He was going to continue to build out in this kind of vein of like notifications and messaging, more so than just RSVPs, because that's a very saturated market. Having people sign up to Eventcaster through Farcaster, which by the way was part of the challenge anyways, would have been great to have all the communications there. But that those tools don't exist yet, or don't work well anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like
so yeah,
events is a little janky as well,
yeah,
as is true for almost 100% of the apps on Podcaster.
yeah,
But and I hate to say it, but it's like sometimes I really feel like Facebook groups had it right, and
hundred
like
percent.
no one has outperformed Facebook groups yet that I've seen.
I
And
agree.
it's like not even like I'm not even going to concede to this being a boomer take because it objectively is just the best way to like communicate in a community
Yeah,
that I've seen. Like name a better tool. I haven't seen it yet.
I mean, I use WhatsApp, but that's very isolated. It's not part of the social network anymore, right? It's a different app.
Right.
Yeah, let's
And
say if you
like
want to
it
be
doesn't
in Facebook, yeah, you use Facebook
right. And
groups.
like the Facebook groups that I like only use Facebook for Facebook groups that I'm part of,
Hmm.
and the groups that I'm in, I can just very easily go to the group, see what announcements are there, and then if I want to dig in more, I can click on the thread and look at the comments and stuff. But it's almost like all the announcement posts are there versus something like WhatsApp or Telegram. You just have a long string of messages,
Hmm.
which is like it works for certain things. Like it works to like keep the momentum going, keep the energy going, like for all the ADD brains nowadays that just like need things to happen super fast, but it's so unorganized. And if you just like step away, if you're like not online for like 24 hours for whatever reason, and you are trying to like catch up on what's happened
Hmm.
with Telegram or WhatsApp, like you're just SOL. Like it's not, you're gonna be scrolling forever and probably still miss whatever you're looking for.
Yeah. I mean, I think subreddits, some people might argue. I mean, I'm from the Reddit generation. Like I
Yeah.
grew up with the what was it called? The front page of the internet. That was kind of their tagline when they first
Yeah.
launched. And I think they do a really good job at like nesting conversations and, I actually think in terms of like moderated conversations, they're probably one of the best too because they have people who volunteer their time to moderate
Uh,
these subreddits, which very much again like wiki, it's another thing, like people volunteer their time to like moderate the information on wiki. In fact, wiki is probably like next level when it comes to moderation. But in terms of like being able to be a part of a group, have a conversation, I think that Reddit and absolutely Facebook groups, probably a lot more social than Reddit. But yeah, both of those are good examples. I think Warpcast tried the Reddit model, it didn't work. My bet
mhm.
is Coinbase Wallet should be trying the Facebook model with groups.
The other thing too with like all of this is that Facebook is like the OG social media app, right? Like everyone has a Facebook, whether or not you use it for anything. Did everyone just drop?
Here.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was like, what happened suddenly? Everyone just dropped. Am I just running this live stream by myself now? That's fine.
I have no idea. I'm reconnecting all my equipment. Even my microphone blew up. Test, test.
What do you mean blew
Can you hear me?
up? Yeah, 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 I can.
It just went off. It just went off for some reason.
Oh,
Um,
weird.
yeah. Sorry about that. But you were saying you literally were just starting on a thought. So go ahead.
Oh, I was I was saying the other problem is I think Facebook groups works because Facebook was like the original social media app and everybody has a Facebook account. Everybody has the app. Like similarly to like an Instagram, for example.
Hmm.
But like with, launching something new on a brand new app like Farcaster, it's hard, or even Coinbase Wallet, that's what you were talking about before.
Hmm.
It's hard to get traction when it's like a new app, like it's another new thing versus like Facebook is old and boomer, and maybe like no one posts anything to their Facebook or does anything like that, but we all still have an account. And so it's easy for us to go into a Facebook group and engage there.
Yeah. I want to dive into this eventually. I don't know if now is the right time, but Jesse said something, and I was digging through because I swear I was recording him when he said this, but he said, or he might have just said it on Twitter, and I just totally conflated it with having said it live at FarCon.
Mhm.
But he basically said that TikTok creators were born organically through TikTok. The ones that you recognize as TikTok creators, they didn't come from YouTube. They didn't come from Facebook. They started on TikTok.
Yeah.
And he drew a line between that and on-chain media and said the same will be true of on-chain creators. On-chain creators will be born organically through on-chain media. In other words, Diana, the work that you're doing on pods and posting on Zora, wherever you're doing all of this work on chain, you're going to be the first on-chain media influencer, and others that come behind you are going to be catching up to you because you would have already found success and establish yourself as a voice in on-chain media the same way that like TikTokers, right, would have done that. And going back to like Instagram, people who were doing that on Reels, and then going even further back on the OG YouTubers who found success on that platform, which I thought that that was interesting. I wonder if you have any thoughts on that.
I think it sounds really nice. And I think like, 3 to 5 years ago, had I heard this, I would have been like, oh hell yeah, like let's fucking go. And I probably was. Like I think I did think this like 3 to 5 years ago. Um, and I think we just haven't seen it play out over the last 5 years. Which, if you compare that to like the TikTok time horizon, sure, like TikTok was, not TikTok before it was like another app before it was TikTok, and that app didn't find as much success. But once it was like the current version of TikTok, the time horizon for creators to really blow up on TikTok was not 3 to 5 years, like not even close. It was like 5 months.
So, Gramajo, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I missed part of it.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna take a stab at it, and then you can add if you'd like. But basically, the argument is that if on-chain media is to birth its own group of influencers, right, and creators, the way that TikTokers were born out of TikTok and YouTubers were born out of YouTube, Diana's argument, which is spicy and I like it, is that it's taking too long and it seems almost unviable because of that her time horizon. Um, I would say that partly I agree. Yes, like if you're going to birth your own set of creators, they should have already found some level of success. Sure. However, the tools that have existed for on-chain media and for monetization and even to some degree virality haven't existed until like the last year. And the focus and aka money that's going into on-chain media now isn't anything like what was going into it even a year ago. Like you and I have been creators for quite some time, Diana. Like the tools that we've had to use to propagate the message and, in quotes, if people want to agree with it, become crypto influencers hasn't been on chain. It has been X, it has been YouTube, it has been Instagram. X being, I think, the primary vehicle because crypto Twitter. Um, so I think we're building everything from the ground up, so it's very difficult to have established oneself. I think as a on-chain creator, aka influencer, because the tools haven't existed yet. But
Hmm.
I
What
think there is a
tools
time limit.
there? I think there's definitely more tools today than there were before, but in terms of tools for like on-chain minting, I mean, Manifold's always been around. There's always been ways to mint stuff on chain. Maybe like
Mm,
not as seamless of a process, but people who really wanted to do it could still figure it out. Like non-technical people could still figure it out, like myself. I think today it's like there are more tools, but I it's like hard for me to identify one or two or any number that like have really like made a substantial difference
yeah,
for creators and that's thriving. I think we've talked about this before. Like,
yeah,
how many creator tooling platforms out there can you say are really thriving?
yeah. I would say differentiated. Thriving is hard to say. I wouldn't. I mean, you and I are pretty bullish on pods.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, if you ask me, like I would probably say Pods is the number one platform I can think of that's
mhm,
actually that I would say is at least on track to be thriving, if like
yeah,
not quite there yet.
yeah,
But other than that, and Pods is so specific just for
yeah.
podcasters. There's
Which, by the
so
way,
many other types of creators.
proved to be a bit of a challenge in the hackathon. I talked to Lucas about this. Like, it's such a narrow scope that it was
Yeah,
harder for people to be like, "Yeah, I'm going to launch my podcast today." It's like that's a big lift versus, let's
right.
go talk about matcha or let's go talk about Octon or let's
Totally.
carry around pictures of the Doge and take pictures with it. Like those were a little easier to lift. But to your
I
point
feel like
though,
pay-per-view would have been a better challenge for them than
well,
Pods.
and we can get into that. But in terms of like to your point of like the platforms like Manifold were there, to to be fair, it's they weren't necessarily built for content creators, right? Like I feel like Pods is built for content creators. Um, Zora, love it or hate it, you could put your shorts up there and coin them, and they could be used for content creators. I would
I
say
mean,
that
Pods is just built for podcasters. There's like so many other content creators that Pods isn't really built for.
right, and I think that's the challenge, and if that's another takeaway for me from this event because it really was focused on content creators, and I do want to keep leaning into that. When you say creators, that's a big box. There's a lot of things you can pull from that, right? But for me, my focus is content creators. And I also did learn that there probably isn't as many platforms for content creators as we think there are. And even the way that content creators use platforms like TikTok primarily for distribution um, aren't very good yet. So again, it's why I'm bullish on Coinbase Wallet, um, because of the fact that they are leaning into this like social kind of view of creators, where it's like we're really just trying to put our content out there, get the most distribution we can, and if we can monetize that on the back end, wonderful. That obviously hasn't been built in yet, but it's there. So it's primarily built for distribution. Um, but yeah, there aren't a lot of tools. Also, like I think you're a OG Lens, like they've been around for a minute, and I wonder if you have any like takes on like was that successful in any of their iterations?
No.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And it
No,
was
I mean,
super
I yeah,
expensive too to upload.
I've said this on like so many times, but I think the biggest different, like when you look at Lens versus Farcaster, for example, the most noticeable thing is just their approach to growth in the early days, where Lens was super hyper focused on quantity over quality in terms of their
Mm.
growth, and they got all these users on really early. They got the spam bot problem super early. Farcaster took the opposite approach of quality over quantity, and so they like wouldn't let people onto the platform for a while.
Hmm.
All this stuff, their growth was a lot slower, but I think what they built was a lot more solid. And now I think we can see today, like if you ask anyone, I think, to who's on Farcaster and Lens, to sort of compare what the experiences are like, I think Farcaster is a much better experience. There's better quality people, there's better quality discussions, there are a lot more apps that are fun. And obviously, like, we're always criticizing things for not working 100%, but there are more apps that work, you know 70%, and are fun and entertaining and people are at least using,
Hmm.
than we see on Lens. And then this isn't even getting to the part where, since like April 4th or 5th or whenever they launched Lens Chain, none of the apps have been working. Like, I've published every podcast episode for seasons and seasons, like maybe not since day one, but close to day one,
Yeah.
on Tape, which is formerly Lens Tube, and I haven't been able to publish anything since they moved everything. They migrated everything over to Lens Chain. So yeah, other than that, like, I honestly, like, I don't really use Lens for much anymore. It was mostly just for the videos on Tape. And now that I can't upload any videos on Tape, I don't really know what to use it for. People were like, I think Orb has, which is like the main like social app on
Hmm.
Lens, has always been pretty janky and never really reached a place where it felt like just nice and comfy and smooth to use. And I just saw someone like send through a screenshot on one of the group chats I'm in, that their Orb app is taking up more, like the most memory space on their phone, like more than like their Photos app, or their message, like whatever
Wow.
apps we have on our iPhone that usually take up the most space. Like, Orb was like the one app that took up more data than anything else. So they're like, yeah, I just have to delete this because I just don't have space on my phone. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure like what their strategy is, or what they've been doing for the last year plus. I haven't really followed, but it kind of seems like a mess to me.
I wonder if anybody's reaching out to you because I recognize you as the person I'd go to about any questions about Lens because you've been using it the longest that I've known, and I've been on Lens for like a long time, but I'm not a power user. I actually was um, turned off by how expensive it was to upload to Arweave. I was like, how much for a video?
Mm,
Like, I'm not making that money back. Like, it's expensive. It was expensive to upload to Arweave. So I was like, no. So that was a turn off for me. But I saw you consistently posting and on X or Twitter then you were sharing all your posts and it was neatly like nested with all the links and I was like, dang, like Diana's really still going on Lens. That's awesome. But like,
Yeah,
is anybody reaching out to you and going, hey, like we want to learn from you. Like, what are some of the challenges?
no.
Gotta talk to your users, man. That's another problem. People aren't talking to their users, just keep building. I don't know who they're talking to, but definitely not the people that care or are building on it.
Right. Yeah. And this is like for sure not a unique problem to Lens. This is like
Sure.
crypto space as a whole is like people don't talk to their users. Which is crazy.
I'm gonna keep saying it, and it's not just because they were a partner at on-chain creator house, but Base is different. They are boots on the ground, asking questions, getting feedback directly from the people that are going to be using it, and I appreciate that as a user, but also as a builder because
Mhm.
that's rare.
Yeah. Gramajo, what do you think of we were just I think we're just recapping on-chain creator house and kind of got off on all these little mini tangents. But what was your you were there too. What was your main takeaway?
Um, I mean, I'm happy that Humpty, I think, realized some of the challenges of rallying people around deadlines because it definitely felt like that a little bit for me. So
Did you end up
kudos.
making that matcha video?
No, I'm actually gonna make it today. I think.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be a part of the competition. I just really like the that guy's energy. So I told him I'm gonna make a video and I'm gonna make a video and I'm gonna send it to him and I don't really care if it's compensated or not. I think it's just an idea that I got in my head like while we were there, but didn't have a chance to make it. So I'm gonna make it for sure. But yeah, I think like the deadlines, at least for me, like a podcast would have been tough.
Yeah.
Um, and then rodeo Zach Lip, he killed it. So there's no point in that one.
Well,
Yeah.
hey, to be fair, and I've reached out to the rodeo team because there were a couple of submissions, and obviously it's skewed in one direction. But I think it was three people that were going to
Yeah.
get rewarded. So regardless,
Um,
even if it was skewed, it was still going to be split three ways. But yeah, of course, if you have like the major influencers of rodeo coming through, there's going to be an unfair advantage.
Yeah, which is fine. I have like completely zero issues.
I
I think
love
the
that
whole thing.
though.
Yeah, I think the whole thing. I think the whole thing was a success, to be honest, and I think it's the right approach. And before I dipped out, it was kind of great to hear you kind of talk about some of the challenges, and it was the ones that were on my head and how
Mhm.
you're going to address them. So this thing's only going to get better. So yeah, just keep it up, man. I think you'll do well. Um, I think I had like a thought that was kind of creeping up in my head was like, on one hand, like I do understand what you're saying, Diana, about like it feels like it's taking forever. Um, but I kind of want to take a step back because I feel like I was using YouTube in high school, and I don't think I heard about a YouTuber, like someone literally like doing YouTube as a full time job until I graduated college. So that's at least 4 or 5 years. I want to say maybe it was sooner, but like I think about MKBHD. So I was following him like 2008. Like the dude looked like a kid. He still looks like a kid, but uh,
He
but
was a kid,
I
wasn't he? I think he was like 13 or something. He
yeah,
was
he was
little.
like a kid for sure. But I remember like in 2012, um, I think he was taking it more serious and he was getting like bigger, and maybe there was other bigger ones. But that's like the one that I think about, like in terms of like when I think of YouTube and I think of like success. And I remember hearing his story about like trying to get a loan, and he put like for his job description or occupation as YouTuber, and the bank was like, "What the fuck is this? Like I don't even
mhm.
know what is this a real job?" And the dude was making money, like so clearly it's a job. Um, so I feel like there was a gap or time there. And then Instagram, same thing. I was using Instagram like first year or second year of college, and I don't remember anyone on Instagram back then that much. And then I don't think I've heard of Instagram influencers until after college as well. So like another 4 years. Podcast is probably like the one, same thing. Like podcast is even older. Like podcasts have been around forever, and I don't think until recently we've seen how much money podcasters can make, like with Joe Rogan. So a long-winded way of saying like I don't know when we define as like content creators in crypto being like the start time. Obviously, if we start back when crypto started, period, then obviously yes, it's taking a very long time. Um, but it's taking Bitcoin just as long to become as popular too. So I don't think we're too far behind. But like let's say content creator crypto didn't become a thing until 2021. Like we're not that deep in it, essentially. Like so
Yeah, I hear you. I think the the way I see it is like I'm not sure how much we've even developed really like in the right direction over the
yeah,
last 3 to 5 years. And it's tough to not even see that movement, right? Like, I'm okay if we're not at a point where there's all these on-chain creators making full-time salaries from content creation. Like, I'm okay with that. It's like you said, like being able to like make money as a full-time content creator is challenge like has always been challenging, and I don't think that'll ever change. But just like trying to reflect and see how much progress we've made. A lot of like the original promises of like, the 100 true fans thing, like that just
yeah,
completely died. Like no one has talked about that in, I
yeah,
don't know, like a year or more. And like it's not a thing anymore. I think people just realized that it was like a pipe dream that's not possible. And I think a lot of the ideas that people had of what could be possible for content creators in the earlier days of people thinking about the creator economy and Web3 have, I think, just proven to not be viable.
yeah.
And that's
I
why it was kind of like what you were saying earlier, Humpty, about like what you heard Jesse saying was kind of like it just brought me back to like 5 years ago. Like it's the same thing that, people like Lee and stuff were saying 5 years ago. And like where we're at now. So I think it's just hard for me to like hear stuff like that anymore and like get hyped about it, because I'm like, this isn't actually new though. Like we've been saying this for years.
Mm.
yeah.
Who's
You know
Lee,
what's
by the way?
interesting about that thought too is that um is I feel like the platforms that we're using, some of them are finally coming around to it, but I feel like they haven't leaned on what makes crypto crypto. Like what makes a content creator on crypto rails different from a regular like Web2 rail, you know? So like
Hmm.
because like you said, like it comes with history, it comes with already like tools. So you're competing with that. So like if you were like, here's a net new thing. So like I'll say like even Farcaster was doing this too for a while, where they were trying to compete like pound for pound against Twitter on the same
Hmm.
feature sets,
Mhm.
and that's just not what's gonna bring people over. I mean, like
Hmm.
yes, maybe some people because like obviously you want feature parity, but like the more you lean on what makes you unique, specifically on chain. So like Farcaster being they have an embedded wallet now in the mini apps. I'm hoping. I mean, we'll see. That will drive users versus like you being like, hey, like you want to upload your pictures here and it's not your own contract and it's like this and that like but so it's like you might as well just upload to Instagram or or where like wherever the users are or the bots, whatever you want to call them.
Right. And in that sense, actually, like it feels like we were closer to identifying the distinction between on-chain versus off-chain creators 4 years ago than we
Yeah,
are today. Because
Mm.
back then, like the people that were in it really understood everything that you're saying. Like, I want to own my own contracts. Like, this is important to me for XYZ reasons. Whereas if you talk to I'm curious, like, if you went around to the on-chain creator house at FarCon and asked people, like, do you own your own contract? would you want to own your own contract? Do you care? Do you understand why I'm asking you this question? Like, I wonder how many of them actually would, you know? Like, yeah, I think it's just like such a different landscape today. And I'm not saying it's like good or bad, but it does sometimes feel like we're farther away from the vision of on-chain content today than we were, a few years ago.
So I think this is a bit of the privy effect with, the way that we subscribe to crypto these days, because we're trying to make this palatable to a new generation or to the generation of users that never onboarded like us, which means we need to have them join in ways that are not so difficult, like you forget your private key, you've lost everything. Privy, I think, does a really good job, and like them, many others who allow you to create a wallet simply using your wallet, or sorry, your email. And, if you had told me that this was going to be the future of crypto years ago, I would have said we're not going to make it, because we're no longer necessarily advocating for self sovereignty of money, because there's still a middle person between us and our money in terms of the wallets and how they're managed. The same thing I think is happening with content, where we've had this conversation at length several times here already, where what we think is the value and the importance of owning our own contracts so that we can own our own content. There's now these platforms that are being built that are uh, abstracting some of the complexities of creating a contract to make it easier for you to use the platform. But through that simplicity, or trying to make it much easier to use, we're disconnecting some of the values that make crypto different and unique and important in some ways. But I think, like you and Gramajo and myself, we are a handful of people. They're the majority of people don't want to go through that process. They don't want to learn it. But like when I came into crypto in 2016, my work then was to, hey, come in by any means. Like, join through, I think at that point, Binance was still, legal to use in the US. It's like, come in through Binance, right? I don't think Coinbase was really kind of hidden the same way that Binance was at that point. But when you do, here's a self sovereign wallet that you can own all this crypto in. Now, just save your private key, write it down, put it in a safe somewhere, just because if you lose it, yeah, you lose access to your money. But again, you added this layer of complexity after the initial onboarding. I think maybe early morning crew, we're kind of tasked with, hey, come in by any means possible, but once you're in here, here are the different platforms we'd recommend where you have full control over your content, like pods. I think that's why we keep going to pods, is because they started with that mentality first. And I think that they're going to be, if not have already added a layer to simplify that, where you can sign in with email. But at the same time, there should be a way for you to sign up where you have full ownership over all that content because you own the contract as well.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Rodeo is doing actually a fantastic job at this too. Rodeo actually, you can do all that and get your cake too. Like, it's your own contract as well. Like, when I see Rodeo, I can see all those mints on OpenSea on my profile, or anywhere on my profile. I could see it. It's more other platforms, but I think I've
Yeah,
ragged on them. I've ragged on them enough, so I won't say it. But one
we
interesting
all
thing
know.
about kind of one interesting thing about Farcon actually mentioning Privy is I actually heard a lot of frustration around having multiple wallets at Farcon. And like you said, maybe it's the crowd. Maybe we're all like leaning on the more advanced crypto user crowd, probably. But I would say, like, a lot of conversations I had with people, because a lot of people were asking me, like, like, if you can network and get a job or something, and like, who would it be? And like, I randomly brought up Privy, And then like the first thing someone said was like, it wasn't even like me saying that. They were kind of just like, damn, dude, I have so many freaking wallets. Like they were just really frustrated. And I was like, dude, me too. Like I try and like spend a lot of time maintaining my wallets like nice and clean and tidy. And then yeah, Privy just throws that out the door. But on a good note, they do have like a Discord integration now. So now you can build like a wallet through Privy with Discord, like so you could log in with Discord. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, that's what I heard about Privy. It just reminded me that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and like the good news is there's people working on embedded wallet solutions that can hopefully fix some of those issues. But I haven't heard anyone say like, "Oh, I love having 20 different wallets to manage and keep track of." Like, I don't think anyone enjoys having that many wallets.
Yeah, didn't even
But
Fred Wilson say something about it? Didn't he make a comment on this
uh,
during the Q&A with Dan?
all,
Oh, Humpty, you missed it, I think.
all I
But I'm
remember
pretty sure.
Fred Wilson saying that like grinded my gears, and I think some others that I saw on Twitter was how a good product doesn't need marketing to succeed.
Yeah, yeah.
It was
Hey,
just like,
Spoken like a true dev.
you gotta have you gotta have opinions. Yeah. So what I remember was he actually literally like made a call to action to literally everyone. He told Privy, Coinbase, everyone to sit down, and he was like, figure out the whole wallet situation. Like he literally said that. So I'm remembering that now, which is kind of hilarious because literally, yes, 100%.
Any
I
other hot
agree.
yeah.
takes from Farcon actually? Because we've really been kind of like on the creator thing, which is fine. This is our bread and butter. But any other hot takes from Farcon? Because that was the day after my event, and I was sleeping till about 10 in the morning, and I knew that I was gonna miss the entry because it got locked. Doors were locked, I think, till 11:30, so I didn't show up till like noon. Any other hot takes or things that I might have missed, or anybody else who wasn't there might have missed?
Ramajo should
I have
go.
I have one. It's not a hot take at all. It's more a reflection of where I'm at right now with like my content. So it's also from Fred's conversation with Dan. There was actually a lot of nuggets on that one. So like I think for you, Humpty, if you don't have that much time to like listening to the lightning talks and all that, I would say if you only have about an hour to dedicate to something, definitely listen to that chat. It was good. There was a lot of good takes and a lot of spicy ones and all that. But I would say his was kind of regarding like the burn rate. So like how much work you're putting into it, and then like when your product like reaches product market fit and then it kind of takes off to the right. So obviously like for content, I was kind of thinking about it like I've noticed at least that a lot of people start off really strong. So they'll be like, oh, I'm gonna do content weekly, daily, and they go for 3 4 months, but then like a year and a half into it, or even less than that, like 6 months into it, they're done. They're like, I'm not making money. Like the bear market's here. Um, I've been putting in X amount of hours, and then they basically burn out, and then they're done. Like they don't do anything. And Diana's been doing it for a long time, or both of you have been doing it for a long time. And that's kind of where I was like at, where I was writing a weekly newsletter and a Wednesday like drop as well, plus the podcast. And I do this part time. And so I was starting to reach a point where I was like, I did it for like 2 years and I was starting to get burned out. So I actually haven't been writing as much recently. But I've been itching to start writing again. And I've been kind of saying that for a while. And so the takeaway from kind of that was like, one, I want to go back into writing my newsletter, but what does it look like for me to do this to survive long enough until if to see if I even have any product market fit, essentially, like if my stuff resonates with other people. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like figuring out what's the good balance between work, time, everything else, and then and just surviving as long as possible.
I think though, if I had any advice for anyone, just based on my personal experience and conversations I have on a regular basis with other creators, is find your niche. I think the conversation that I've seen this week on Farcaster after Farcon is stop trying to onboard everybody the same way. Everyone, like, there are so many different groups of people in this world with different interests and cultural niches that to try to onboard everybody with, to basically paint with the same brush in terms of like what onboarding looks like is not going to work. You're not going to make it. Um, there was a very kind cast about the pioneering work that we did with the Creator House. But my response to that was there are so many niches, so many different buckets of people that we can go after and onboard them in ways that are like meaningful to them. A good example was Skate Jam. That to me was another great example of like how you onboard people to crypto. There were people, I guess, that the creators of the Skate Jam, right, like the Hire Crew, had met skateboarding, and they brought them to the Skate Jam, and they joined rodeo. Like that's dope. And their photography, by the way, is fire. Like I collected several other pieces because I'm like, I was a skateboarder growing up. Like to me, that culture so speaks to me still to this day. So I love to see that higher NARS, they're out there bringing people to crypto, on chain, Farcaster, rodeo, whatever you want to call it, through things that connect with them, that means something to them. And so, in terms of like your media and the content you create, what's your niche? Breakfast burritos? Like, write about breakfast burrito and rate them and put them on chain. Like, I had to bring it up. You
I'm
just do
so
it.
glad you slipped that in there. Can't believe we almost did a whole hour without mentioning burritos.
Yeah. So I mean, just figure out your niche. Like I actually love your branding, Area 51. I think it's pretty great. I don't know, like what's weird about your content then? Like I think Area 51, I want it to be weird. Maybe you're not weird. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but I see that branding and I want it to be like you're a sleuth. You're out there getting stuff that people shouldn't know. Like, who is this person that was in Diana's, comments talking about the food she was eating? Like, I want you to sleuth and I want you to like get us the story behind the story. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
I would
Yeah, I do like
actually
that.
love it if you found this person, Gramajo, and just did like a very casual like street interview with them and like ask them nothing about it until like the last question and just casually be like, yes, I'm gonna like scroll through some of your casts and just ask you a few questions about them. What was going on with this attack on Tree Girl with her food pics? Can you explain that a little bit more?
By the way, food pics is what she said for anybody who's hard of listening. FOOD pics.
Oh, what did
Not
it sound
feet
like I
pics.
said? Oh.
Foot. It's not pay-per-view.
No, not pay-per-view. And I only put Toby's feet pics on
Oh
there.
my gosh,
So
yes. More pay-per-view talk too, by the way. I know we're running short on time here, but go ahead. You were gonna say something, Amajo.
No, it just sounded like Diana's really like giving it a lot of thought on like how she would approach this person. So just an observation.
yeah, my thoughts are I would not approach this person. Those
Yeah,
are my thoughts.
they were a
But
little
yeah, I think like to your
unnecessarily spicy.
and it wasn't even from me. Anyway, to your point,
Do you have
Humpty,
any takeaways, Diana? I know I said mine and then we kind of went a little nutty, but what's something that stood out to you that's from Farcon?
um, I haven't all
Say it. I like how she's like,
I
I
haven't
haven't
thought
thought
Say
I
about
haven't
it.
thought I haven't thought about like the right way to say my
Mm,
thoughts.
say it the wrong way then.
So that's what I'm thinking I don't want to do.
Okay.
But I was gonna say, like, in response to your niche comment, like you just have to find your niche and go with that. Like if you're Area 51, like dive into like the weirdness around that or whatever. I think the challenge with that is the the TAM for crypto audience as a whole, like say you're like a mainstream crypto podcast or content creator, your TAM is still like barely more than 37 people. And then if you're gonna like be niche about it, which is typically a good strategy and good advice, but I think within the realm of crypto, then you literally have 37 listeners. And like as we mentioned earlier, the whole 100 true fans thesis has been essentially proven to be like not viable. And so I think that while I think like I just think like a lot of the things that we're saying in the on-chain creator space today sounds really nice, but honestly, like a lot of times when I hear that, it like I have deja vu all the time. Because I'm like, I've heard this before. Like I've heard this before, like not just like yesterday from somebody else at the conference, but like 5 years ago. Like it's like major deja vu like that. And but anyway, yeah, that's kind of just sorry, I'm such like a I clearly am kind of in like a burnt out state and very low energy. And so
We
that's
get it.
I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy about any of this.
I didn't get
No,
negativity.
yeah, I mean, I appreciate that because I'm like, one thing that you guys will probably learn is that I'm like super optimistic, like nonstop. Like, so
I typically am too. I typically am too, and I appreciate optimism. But like I think I've even I reach a breaking point at some it's at some point like that pragmatic sort of like side seeps in and overshadows the optimism, I think.
So, as we start to wrap up,
Wag
because
me.
well, because I know you have to leave at the top of the hour.
Yeah, I do.
What are some of the things we want to post on pay per view aside from Toby's feed pics? And for
I
those of you who
actually
don't
have
know, pay per view is a new product by the team from Pods.
I actually have been thinking about how to use pay-per-view for rehash purposes, like in a more serious way. And I do think it'd be fun to post like behind the scenes clips or like
Oh,
Rachel, who's like calls herself the rehash intern, has been like splicing together these she's Rachel Please. Rachel she's in the you see her in the rehash group, I'm sure, but she's been like splicing together just kind of funny meme clips, like making fun of me and stuff, like stuff like that. I think would be fun to put on pay-per-view, or like embarrassing things that people say, stuff like that. So I do think that creators can use pay-per-view in like fun ways like that. It's almost like in the Zora ways of like posting memes, but I like the element of like the it's hidden until you pay to view it element.
I mean, this burrito tag is going wild in your chat. I think you should just challenge everybody from your community to post or to send burrito pics from around the world, and then you pay per view them.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah, keep it fun, keep it light.
I
It's
like
still
that.
spicy, by the way.
I like that. You should pitch it. You should pitch it in the group. I don't want to steal your ideas. That's a great idea.
It's all, dude. This is all open source content here. Take it. I'm not gonna use it. I promise you. So, yeah, have the rehash community volunteer burrito picks from around the world. Pay per view them, and then once they've been revealed, you do a ponder where, or what is it, the one where
Vote for the
you,
best one.
yeah, you're integrating all this on-chain technology. Which, by
I
the way,
like
I,
it.
I was laughing earlier when we were talking about my whole drama of like how to communicate with people that were participating in a hackathon. Because you said Telegram, I'm like, here we go. We're back to the crypto the game conversation we had over
Oh
a month
yeah.
ago.
You
So
hate time.
I just don't want to be using Web2 tools, but I was using email and Luma. So look, we're back to the same problem.
Yeah,
Anyways,
yeah.
yeah.
We gotta go harder on the vibe coding.
Yep.
I was just getting coffee with Xerox designer yesterday, and we were talking about all his vibe coding he's been doing and how like soon we'll just be able to build whatever. And I was like, man, I just can't wait for the day when I can spin up like a rehash world, like a rehash app where it's like this whole world and
Hmm.
you have and I can like force people to go, touch grass and take steps and stuff. Like it could almost be like pay-per-view, but like you can either pay a certain amount to listen to this episode, or you can, if you reach 10,000 steps for the day, that'll unlock access to it. Or like if
Ooh,
I can see that you're actively moving at the moment, like you're going for a walk or a run, then like you can listen to it while you are moving.
man, that's a lot of
yeah.
gatekeeping.
No, I mean it's like we were talking about it with Moonwalk, like on Solana. Like I feel like that's the kind of stuff we need to do. Like lean into that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
we might have a
Walk
guest
more,
next
Humpty.
week
It's
too.
good for you.
Yeah. No, I try to get in my 5 steps a day. Yeah. Alrighty. I'm gonna let you go because I know you got to go. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We'll see you
Yeah.
next week.
Thank you guys.
Bye bye.
Peace.